It's the podcast nobody asked for. Gary and Terry argue about music.
Gary.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We are back again. By the way,
I know it's been too long.
have you seen your issue of the Centerville Lifestyle magazine?
I'm not sure we've gotten one, but it looks like interesting read.
Well,
What is-
if
what
you
is it?
happen to open to the centerfold,
Uh-oh, Burt Reynolds, here we come.
featuring me,
Oh,
all
nice.
you folks out there that would like to read more about me, pick up your issue of Centerville Lifestyle magazine
The
or
history,
go online.
the history of local music, right?
Well, we talk about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about my opinions of the world.
Do you
Which is-
argue with them?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's good. Because I know this program, usually there's some kind of an instigator where we're trying to get an argument going, but
No.
we like to call them discussions.
So we are back for our third episode. By the way, how did we do on our second episode? You were like the
I tell you what, no offense to our guest here today,
Yeah.
but the looks have gone downhill because
I can't compete.
he's no Ashley Martin. You
I
know?
can't.
No, did we have enough views? Did we go up?
I don't know. I only watched it about 4 times a day, so I was trying to keep the viewership up.
Well, I'm
you
thinking if our ratings are going down, we need to go topless.
know. Okay, that
Okay.
sounds good. You could take your hat off, right?
All right. So before we introduce this guy, I have one question for you.
Uh-oh.
Who do you consider to be the most important member of a band?
Wow. I like to consider everyone to be
Oh, come.
an equal in the band.
I hate this crap.
That's what I want in my band, but I know it can't be because somebody has to do the dirty work.
So I figured you would say, "Oh, it's always a pretty boy frontman like yourself." That's the most. That's the most important person of a band. But
Eyes.
I think this guy and guys like him are the most important member of a band.
I see where you're going.
See where I'm going?
Yeah.
This Dave, introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Dave Shores,
And you are a
sound tech
sound tech. And how long, Dave, have you been a sound tech?
since 1981.
Like, you were running big PV speakers, I'm sure, back then.
Sure Vocal Masters.
So let me tell you why it's important to have a sound tech in a band or something that you're watching. If the band is the greatest band in the world and the sound tech sucks, the
Yeah.
band sucks.
The band sucks. You got it. It is 100%. That sound man can make or break you.
And if the band's bad and the sound tech's great, you're going to come away thinking, well, they were pretty good.
That's right. And the reason that we've come across sounding pretty well,
Yeah?
we started with him, you know.
You started with him?
Well, off and on.
All right, Dave, let's talk a little bit about the job of a sound man. I call him sound man, you call him sound techs. Well, we'll argue about potato later. You've been a sound guy since 1981. You worked at the premier venue in Dayton, Ohio, in my opinion, which was
Indoor.
Jilly's.
Yeah.
Which is Jilly's, where all the big names came. It wasn't a large club. It wasn't fancy.
210 seats.
Is that what it was? 210. Wow.
210.
I would have guessed more.
And you've had big names roll through there every week. I just remember going downtown past that convention center, seeing who's on the marquee.
Yeah,
And it was always somebody cool.
Yeah.
And that marquee is at the Carillon
Oh, is
Museum.
it?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
And how did you get the job?
I went in there, God, I can't, Jimmy Case. Remember Jimmy Case?
Sure.
I remember Jimmy Kay. He used to
Jimmy
play.
Case.
He took me in one night to run for his band.
Yeah.
And Jerry come up to me after the show and says, "Do you think you could work for me every once in a while?" And I was there for 25 years.
That's
Wow.
cool. Too cool.
I mean, the Jilly's is so cool because it was just like what you would expect a venue to be like. It kind of was grungy, a little
Yeah,
grungy. It wasn't fancy, but the music that came out of that place was just.
It was a great sounding room. And with
It was.
and the PA was nothing to brag about, but it sounded good.
well, it's because people working it knew what they were doing.
I know a lot of Band-Aids.
So, just run down a list of a couple people that maybe you've run sound for in the past 35 years or whatever it's been.
At Jilly's, it'd be Joe Bonamassa, Bobby Boubland, Walter Trout.
Walter Trout, the Troutman brothers?
Trout. No, not Troutman. Walter Trout.
Okay.
He's a blues guitarist. He's originally from New Jersey, but he lives in California.
All right.
And Denmark. Got a home in Denmark, too. But Coco Taylor, good Lord, there's so many.
So, but would they have somebody in there every week? And sometimes it's a local band.
Usually what Jerry did, we would book local bands every once in a while.
Yeah.
But for the national acts, if they were coming through town, they always stopped
Yeah.
to see Jerry.
Like Joe Bonamassa, didn't you tell me that he actually did a shout out to you because he remembers how well you did sound for him?
No, actually what I did was a friend of mine, Joe was playing at the Phrase, and she goes, let's go back stage and see if we can see Joe back in the Phrase.
Yeah.
I said, I don't do that, but let's give it a shot. And as soon as we pulled in, I walked up, I seen him. I went, Joe, and he goes, Dave.
Wow.
And he come running out, and
He is a guitar legend.
Uh-huh.
There's nobody better, in my opinion. He's rock god, right? He's just so good.
but I had a piece of remnant carpet from the stage at Jilly's, and I cut it up into pieces about that big.
Did you smoke it?
No, I wouldn't. But anyway, me and Joe had talked for like 15 minutes, and then I pulled that piece of carpet out, and I didn't have to say anything. He knew exactly where it come from.
Wow.
He did. He
Yeah,
did.
and he went nuts. And I didn't even go to a show that night. I was sitting at my daughter's house, and all of a sudden, about 8:30, my phone started blowing up. Joe just gave you a shout out, man.
So a sound guy, because we're in a band, Gary. You're in a band, I'm in a band, but you're in a fancy band, I'm not in a fancy band.
You have females though.
Yeah, that's true. What time? Let's say the gig's at 8:00. What time does a typical sound guy for a good venue get there if the show starts at 8:00?
2 to 3 o'clock.
You get there at 2 to 3 o'clock. You start setting up speakers, and it's heavy stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to lug around,
No,
especially back in those days. It was extremely heavy. Now it's getting a little bit better, but 2, 3 o'clock, you're setting up. The band shows up at what time, Gary?
Well, with me, it's 2 hours early if we really want to do a thorough sound check. But sometimes there's, a band on in front of you, and you have a 30-minute slot. So,
Right.
you've got to work the
Pre-stage.
timing. Yeah.
Pre-stage and get ready to go on.
Yeah. So you guys, sound guys, typically think through all that, right? Right. There's a lot more than just pushing up faders and pulling them down.
Oh, yeah. That's the easy part.
That's the easy part. Yeah. So tell me what goes on, and briefly what goes on between the hours before the band shows up.
Well, we'll get set up, and then we'll tune the system.
And what does that
Okay.
mean?
Excuse me. We'll go through the system, and we'll check all the mics, check all the speakers, and then we'll shoot some white noise through it
Yeah.
and make sure everything's EQ'd right. And we'll go around and check all the monitors, make sure they're EQ'd right before the band gets there.
So white noise is basically a hissing sound.
Yeah.
It annoys people, but there's a purpose for that because it does help you.
It's equal all the way across the frequency band.
Right. All right. So the question that I've been dying to ask you, and because you've done so many different bands, who's the biggest asshole when it comes to a band? Is it the guitar player, the drummer, the singers, the bass player,
He's
the keyboard
looking at
player?
me. I don't
I'm
know.
not looking at you.
No, he was.
Oh.
That's us kind of
Who,
afraid of
in
the
typical,
answer now.
not just in typical.
I'm not going to name them.
But not naming names. Is it the guitar players are harder to deal with because they're cranking their amps up too loud? Is it the drummer because he's not listening to what you wanted?
Well, guitar players are notorious for turning up.
Oh,
Notorious.
But once you dial them in initially, that doesn't stop them from turning it up throughout.
and they're going to.
That's what the
No.
problem
Yeah.
is.
If you ever see Willie Nelson, he's got a piece of tape all the way across his knobs on his amp.
so nobody can touch his
Somebody
stuff.
touch Yeah.
So you would say typically that maybe because guitar players tend to want to crank things up, they are the ones that are the most difficult to deal with.
Yeah, well, it gets to the point where they're overpowering the PA.
And then what about singers not having a loud enough monitor?
Well, you can only turn the monitors up so loud.
So and again,
So, and what I start doing is if I can't give them any more gain in the monitors,
yeah,
I'll start backing the instruments off. I try and free up less noise.
less space, right?
That's why you're a good sound man.
Because most guys would just keep
That's
pushing
right.
it,
That's
trying to
No.
reduce the high end to get the.
Or they'll have it set, and then they'll get their cell phone out, and they'll be on their phone and not pay attention to what's going on the rest of the night. Because I've had sound guys do that, and it's awful.
Well, see, we're not. I'm guilty of not looking at the stage because I'm looking down at the board or my cell phone. But,
Oh, boy.
but I'm listening.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
but
listening.
but just so people know, sound guy and engineers' ears will get burnt out real quick. You become numb to the fact that maybe sound is what it started out to be, because you've just you're hearing what you think you want to hear. You're not hearing what really is going on. You get a little numb to that, don't you?
Well, I know as the night goes on, I'll lose my high end.
Yeah.
Okay, with cymbals and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, if, I just gotta make sure when I get my cymbals set, they stay right where they're at. I don't,
you don't
I don't
touch
touch them. I don't touch
Is
them.
that true? Are you basically setting the faders alone and that's it? Are you cranking things up and moving things around?
Guitars and vocals. Yeah, I'll move.
And when you know that a guitar lead's coming up, you're aware of that, and you're kind of inching them up for that boosting of that lead.
Yeah, that's for the groups I know.
Yeah,
Okay, but we see. I used to work at a lot of festivals where we have multiple groups every day.
yeah.
Okay, and you don't know what's coming up, especially if they're doing originals.
Yeah.
So you just play by ear. Sit there, and you got to pay attention then.
So would you rather be, because like with Mike who does sound for Centerville, sometimes the band will bring in their own sound person. Like you guys bring in Gary, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Gary does a great job.
He does a great job, and that's what he's done forever.
Right.
And he's got a great reputation, and almost all of the sound people around trust him to at least accompany and help out. If not, sometimes just give him the rein and say take over.
Because
So-
some sound people will get pissed.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. There's
I don't
one,
want your guy running my sound.
and
Well,
that happens.
But see, if you get into the festivals and stuff like that, it was a break for me.
You sit back.
You
and
got
like,
your own guy, good.
That's-
Bring him on
yeah.
in.
And plus, there's so much background noise at the festivals and
Yeah.
stuff.
But we set limiters too. Like
yeah.
Mike's got processors.
Explain what a limiter is.
A limiter is you set it to a certain threshold, and no matter how hard they push the faders, it won't go past it.
Right, so it's a ceiling. If you're crashing that cymbal, it's just never going to go past that level.
And we had the limiter set last week.
Did you?
On Aerosmith,
Yes.
really?
Yeah, we knew what it was going to be.
Because it sounded great. I thought the sound was really good there.
Yeah, Mike put the limiters. I asked Mike to put the limiters on.
Why do you think it would have been louder without him?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was there for the sound check. It was almost too loud for me.
Really?
Yeah.
But see, that's another thing on sound checks.
Oh, I know you.
Let's
want
talk about
You want
sound
to do
checks.
it louder.
Let's explain to folks what a sound check is.
Yeah, because especially if I'm doing the outdoor events.
Yeah.
Okay. When I take my sound check, I take it as hot as I can.
Yes.
And I bring that system up hot. That way I know where my limit is.
Yeah.
And am I going to go there during the show? No.
So
probably
you're
not.
cranking it past the point you would normally go to. Then
Oh,
you
yeah.
Back it down.
And I mean, sometimes it gets pretty loud. But,
Yep.
And I'll have people come up and complain. I said, man, it's just sound checks.
Yeah.
Sound checks, people don't understand sound checks. I get frustrated when I'm playing out. You're trying to do a sound check and they think you're starting.
Yes.
Or they're ready for a request.
Yeah.
No, it's just a sound check.
That's right.
So,
Or they'll clap after the sound check.
which is fine. I
Yeah.
don't mind that. But it is a bit awkward sound checks. I always like what time did the band Sunday do the sound check?
3:00.
Which is a lot of time for them to get out, get something to eat, and get back.
Well, we feed them over at Stubbs.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, things have really improved over there,
They,
haven't they?
they fed us a couple years ago.
Yeah.
We never got fed.
We even got a Keurig machine now.
Of what? Keurig?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the new Stubbs is pretty nice. I saw that backstage.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
a
In the
couple
dressing room?
pictures.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. So talk a little bit about some of the big festivals you've done, where your outdoor venues and the PA's flying versus on the ground.
Yeah. I worked with a company down in Kentucky, out of Monticello, Kentucky, called Pro Video Audio Productions.
Yeah.
And he had 3 or 4 rigs, big rigs. We had one, I think it was 60 by 60 foot stage.
Wow, it's a big stage.
with the rig.
That's huge.
And we would fly the JBL VR Vertex.
Where you're pulling up on a pulley.
No, we got motors.
You got, well, I mean, you got a motor. I mean, your motor, but you're pulling them up,
Yeah.
and then flying. They're
they're
actually
flying.
above ground, kind of. They're in an array, which means it's kind of pointing up and pointing down at the same time.
When we went through our training with JBL,
Yeah.
you know, they got a laser measurement. So you measure from the front row to the back row. And then if you got any balconies, you put all that into the processor, and it computes what each speaker gets. Okay.
Wow.
Really?
And so that's how you design your curve. You know, you can do like a J curve where it goes like this, where it's going straight down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they're all designed to hit a certain spot at a certain time.
So what, Gary? What thinking back upon the many bands you've seen, what was the band that had the best sound?
Oh, always, no doubt. Steely Dan.
Steely Dan?
Yeah.
Always.
Now
Oh,
you-
that's why so many people use, if you want to play some music pre-game or pre-show.
Yeah.
To test
they
the
use
system?
that to test the system, and I heard them doing it a couple weeks ago with Peg.
I do it.
At
Steely Dan.
10:45 p.m. over at Stubbs.
I'll have to start using that. I've been using.
Oh yeah, Steely's.
Ed Sheeran.
Because it's so clean and it just covers everything.
It is. It's just crisp.
So you
clean.
saw Steely Dan live, and you
I saw him a couple times live, and I saw Donald Fagen live down at the real cool place, Taft Theater down in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
Yeah, and it was like seeing Steely, but he had amazing musicians. His drummer was like 18, and his lead guitarist was 21, and they were spot on.
So Dave, what about who do you think? What band had the best sound when you saw them?
Oh, wow.
And you're just in the audience. You're not running anything.
Crazy, but Gloria Estefan.
Oh,
I
cool.
don't doubt that.
Cool.
Man, because, you know, I wanted to go see her just because of all the percussion and everything.
yeah.
And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I'm glad I went.
Now, did you ever run stereo where you'd send things at different speakers?
We always run stereo.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been to a place where we ran stereo.
Yeah, we haven't.
Matter of fact, when I've run you guys, it's always been a stereo.
Really?
Yeah.
We only have 4 people. You do pan me left, pan me right?
We can't. Usually I pan drums.
Oh, yeah, okay. I
So-
agree with that, yeah.
Okay. Pan drums, and then some of your effects, if you're doing some echo stuff, but you can have it bounce back and forth.
Yeah,
On the echo.
that's true. For me, the best sound I've ever heard in my life was at the Schuster Center, Sarah McLaughlin.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah,
It
I
was
heard
like
her at the Rose.
Schuster's.
Now, I went to the Rose this year. I couldn't take it. The Rose, I'm sorry, the Rose. The Rose has the worst sounding place, period.
And I'll agree with you on that. But when I seen Sarah there, I was amazed. It was perfect.
She's
Absolutely perfect.
But that's pretty mellow and
Yeah.
music.
Yeah,
So
no
it's,
stage volume.
Yeah, it's not going to be like Gloria.
But she
I
had
mean,
to-
Gloria, you're going to have that killer percussion
Right.
show and killer vocals and horns and I mean, yeah, that's a mix.
So, all right, so Sarah McLaughlin for me, Steely Dan for you, and
Gloria Estefan.
I was just thinking the name of the song, Hey, Everybody Got to Do the Conga.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Um,
And her music, I mean, it's too bad she had her accident, but she never performed much after that. But man,
Right.
that was a great show
She
to
was
go
on
see.
the AMAs last 2 weeks ago.
so let's spend just real quick as we're kind of winding things down. When you walked in my door just a few minutes ago, you brought donuts, which was always great.
From where?
From Bill's
Bill's.
Donut
Oh,
Shop.
okay.
This podcast is sponsored by Bill's.
That's right.
They don't know it.
They don't.
I need to get Bills to put some donuts in the dressing room.
Yeah, that would be a nice touch.
But you walked up and said, Brian Wilson. You just looked at me and said, Brian Wilson died. You just heard it walking in.
I was on the phone 30 seconds away from your house, and a mutual friend of ours called me and said, I have some bad news to tell you. And he told me Brian had died.
I can't believe that.
And it still hasn't hit me yet, probably. But,
That's like,
that's tough to hear.
you know, if Paul McCartney passed away, which I hope never happens. It's equal to that. That's
Exactly.
how big
And, you know,
he
their
is.
birthdays are 2 days apart,
Oh, God.
coming up next week.
Are they the same age?
Yes, same
Wow.
year.
Yeah, so again, knowing that he's passed away is just so sad. Like
Yeah.
Elvis. I mean, Elvis is big,
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
but Brian Wilson's right up there.
Yeah.
He really
and,
is.
and we all knew he had not been doing real well, but I didn't know it was that severe. So
So it's very sad. So
yeah,
when we take this podcast out, we'll play a little Brian Wilson if we don't get in
nice.
trouble for playing it. Yeah.
Nice.
So Dave, what is it people should know about a sound guy's job? Is it fun? Do you hate it? Did it burn you out? Did it injure you?
Yeah.
Those are great questions. That's a great.
Yeah,
question.
all of the above. You do get burnt out after a while. Okay, and because you're running for bands, and all the bands.
It's a thankless job.
All the bands are good, but then every once in a while you'll hear one band that's just like make the hair on your arm stand up.
Yeah.
And those are magical nights.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do anything wrong in the mix. It just sounds great. And that leads me to this.
Oh, yeah. You wanted us to ask you
Yes,
about
what is this?
Venus Kings.
On my 3 or 4 trips to Peachtree City, Georgia,
Oh, this is your friend. The Irish-
Lisa
yeah.
Kelly. We go down her master class, and I can't sing, but I wanted to meet Lisa.
You go ahead and sing if you want to.
No, I ain't singing at all. But and Lisa's going to be watching this too. So,
She'll
Hey,
be one of the
Lisa.
3 that watch it.
but she's one of the original members of Celtic Woman,
Yeah. Oh,
and
God.
she has a voice academy in Peachtree City, and so. The first time I went down, it was a 2-day class, and I can't sing. I just wanted to meet Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay, and so she was telling us places on a Sunday would be open. So about 3 or 4 miles from her studio is a little village or city called Sonoya. That's where The Walking Dead was filmed. Okay, and there's a craft beer place called the Sonoya Beer Company.
Right.
So yeah, I went in there and had a good time, and then I started watching their live feeds. And then one day this band came on. And I was like, man, that's the one you hear. It's
Yeah.
like, wow. But they were playing there, just a little 4-piece band sitting in the corner of this place.
I love that.
Okay. But the keyboarders, his name was Neil, unbelievable keyboardist. And then the lead singer, he was 24. I found out he was 24. But he just, a lot of people get up and sing. This guy got up and made you feel.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And
They have things online, like videos to watch?
yes.
Okay,
You can-
check them out.
But anyway, so my second trip down there, I was like, I hope they're playing at Sonoya. I hope they're playing at
Oh,
Sonoya.
yeah.
And they were.
And they were cool.
So I made a beeline down there, and I was just amazed. I mean, this band blew me away.
all
Let's
of,
check 'em
was
out.
it originals? All originals or
No,
covers?
no, but it's
Okay.
blues.
Yeah. Okay.
But this 24-year-old
Wow.
kid, man, he was
Wow.
just nailing it.
That's sweet.
And so when I got back, went to the class the next day, I was telling Lisa, I said, Neil told me he knew you. She goes, Neil, the keyboard player? I went, yeah. He goes, oh, he's great. And Neil was great. And if you watch any of the videos, especially the ones that just on Facebook, I mean, he's got a Nord going here, and then he's over here doing the
Oh,
bass.
Yeah.
And I mean,
yeah.
unreal. But, and a guitar player is,
All right, so let's end this podcast with the question of the hour. And I didn't pre-warn you.
Okay, we can't opt out
You-
now,
you,
right?
You get to chime in too. So where we're going to argue, and we won't argue. This one, it's an opinion.
That's what you think.
Greatest song ever written.
Oh, I'm gonna go with God Only Knows now.
By Brian Wilson?
Brian Wilson.
Would that have been your answer if Brian hadn't passed away a few minutes ago?
It may have been. It may have been.
It is a great song.
It is a great song.
It's, I mean,
If I went Beatles, I'd probably go with Here, There, and Everywhere. And rumor has it those two songs were
competing.
competing. Yeah,
But you don't get to. You get to pick one.
Yeah,
Because I know you like to cheat.
So Brian will win today.
Weren't you picking like an album and a half on the album?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
No, I said side 2. I only picked half a side.
Dave, what about you? What do you think is a great song?
we were talking about Sarah McLachlan earlier.
Yeah.
So I guess Angel.
Angel. Oh,
Oh.
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going old school. I think the greatest song ever written is Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Oh,
I just think
gosh,
it's.
that's all got a theme with Brian Wilson.
Huh?
Angel, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. He just went over the rainbow.
You're really reaching on that one.
I know, but
It works.
It hit me.
Okay. Well, folks, this has been Gary and Terry Argue About Music. We didn't do a lot of arguing
No, we
today.
don't.
In respect for Dave here. And we want to thank Dave for being our guest. And hopefully you learned a little bit about the life of a sound guy. I know. I respect them.
A good sound guy.
Yeah, there's a lot. By the way, what? Just before we sign off, give me 3 or 4 sound people in the area you'd like to shout out to that are good that you know.
Of course, Mike Coombs.
Yeah, Mike's great.
Absolutely.
When I gave up the sound job at Stubbs,
Yeah.
okay, after I fell off of the stage, the city let me pick who to take my place.
Yeah.
And so I picked Mike.
Oh, great.
So had you known him?
Oh, I've known him since the
Okay.
80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I goes back to McGuffey's and Bear
Oh,
Creek.
Yeah, yeah.
Bear Creek. Who else?
And, Randy Eldred
Yeah.
and Kevin Irwin. Those are my top 3.
Okay. Well, if anybody's looking for sound people, you just heard it from the expert over here who to reach out to. And Gary, where are you guys playing again? Just so, what's your next gig?
Well, it just so happens to be a gig that you organized called the Americana Festival.
That is true.
The
I am.
fabulous one-day largest show in Ohio, from what we hear.
We hear that because we said it.
Okay, well, and it's true.
Oh, it has to be true. If you say it long enough, it becomes
That's
true.
right.
And you're going to be on the main stage from what time to what time?
11 o'clock a.m. Till 1:15.
And then the 5 band
Yeah,
takes
the
over
5.
from there.
Yeah.
And I have never seen those guys live. I've only seen them on video.
You're really in for a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
Those-
be the same old, same old. They are,
They're good.
yeah.
And then we have the Howard Swing Band down at the Route Song Place, and we have a bunch of different artists at the Benham's Grove.
Grove, yeah.
And then we have the Disney Princesses over at Town Hall doing a little show over there.
Nice.
A lot of entertainment going on at Americana Fest. All right, folks, that is it for this episode of Gary and Terry Argue About Music.
Thank you.
That's it.
And thank
Dave.
you.
Yeah. And I'll see you guys Sunday and Friday, right?
And Friday. That's
Let's
right.
see,
Party in the Park.
That's right. Friday is Journey.
Journey.
And Sunday is Tom
Resurrect-
Petty.
Petty.
Resurrection and Tom
Okay.
Petty.
All right, we got to end this somewhere. That's it. We're out.